I crafted a group called Black Educators Transition to do the same, to help teachers who are looking to go, to kind of give them the resources. This is where you need to start. This is what you need to do. Not holding anyone's hand, because again, you have to do the work yourself, but this is a beginning place for you to start your transition.
Welcome to Leap Like Me. If you can't shake the feeling that you're not on the right path, if you feel called to change things up but don't know how to begin, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Lisa Hawashi, and my specialty is coaching people at those crossroads moments in life when you feel called to take a new direction. Sometimes that means taking a leap. I want to share practical advice and inspiration for your leaps and how to keep going after your dreams in a challenging world. This season, we're talking all about career leaps. Come along for the conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Leap Like Me. I'm your host, Lisa Hawashi. Today's guest is a former elementary school teacher turned customer success manager in Newport News, Virginia. She says that leaving teaching was one of the hardest and best decisions that she made. And since her transition to EdTech, she's found a lot more flexibility and freedom, which is what she really wanted. Please welcome to the show, Raven Wilson. Welcome, Raven.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I'm really excited to be here.
Me too. Well, thank you. So let's just kind of jump in. And first, I would love to hear about what are you doing right now? What's your job like? And a little bit about you, if you'd like to add a little bit of your own background too.
Yes, I'll give my personal background. I'm Raven, like mentioned. I am 30 years old and I live in Virginia. So I taught, I worked with kids forever, like any teacher or educator probably knows, summer camps, preschools and all that. But I was actually a classroom teacher for about 6 years in elementary ed. I taught first, second, and I was a math interventionist. So I taught K-5 because I was really working with those students. And it was my dream career, right? It's like what I wanted to do since I was probably 8, being the boss with my sisters. I recently left the classroom about a year. No, like it makes a year next week. Next week will be officially a year since I've been out of the classroom. It's crazy. And now I am a customer success manager in EdTech. So even though I live in Newport News, my company is based out of Boston, but I work remote. So I get to do what I do in the comfort of my own home.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, so it sounds like you both kind of really thought you would go into teaching from the beginning. So we can kind of go there in a minute. But first, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, like, what does your job entail right now? What do you enjoy about it? Tell us a little bit more about what you do.
So it's one of my favorite questions, like, what is a customer success manager? Because even before I got into it, I'm like, I don't want to be like on the phone, like a call center person. But really what I do is in the name, like I make sure our customers are successful at using our product. So for any big software company, and if it's a software as a service, like we're giving it out like Netflix, they have a service, they have a software. So they probably have customer success managers, right? We want to make sure our customers are happy. And what that really looks like depends on the product. So because I work in EdTech, my customers and clients are teachers, administrators, in that field. And what makes them happy is how are they using it with their students? Are they finding best practices? How is this really going to look realistic on the day-to-day when we have everything else on our plate? So my job is really coming up with ways to make sure that they are successful at using it in the classroom, in their districts, and a lot of data onboarding, right? Like I'm getting them welcome to our company. I want them trained. I want to support them. Lots and lots of emails day to day. I think my favorite part of this job is I get to do a little training, which feels like teaching to me, but with adults. So it's fun. Right. So I'm talking to adults all day long on how to use this. And because my clients and customers are educators, I'll say this is what I would have done in my classroom. Like, oh, you're an elementary educator. This is how this would be successful with them. So it's really cool to kind of give back in that sense.
Mm-hmm. So you can really use your expertise in a different way and your teaching in a different way. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I still feel like a teacher at heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about like how did your teaching career go? And as you started to get into it, when did the signs start to emerge that maybe it wasn't the right fit for you?
I would say my first year, but the blazing, glaring signs didn't come for a couple of years later. So just like every teacher, you go through teacher prep and all those things in college, and you're like, yes, I am ready. You do student teaching, and you're ready to go, and it is nothing like what you thought it was going to be. Like you're like, what's happening? What is happening? This is not like student teaching. This was not like college. This is just something else. And you just kind of like sink or float your first year. You really do. And you come with the community. So my first year, I loved my school, but it was a really tough school. So I had a lot of students who just needed a lot of love. But with that love, there came like, a lot of profanity, a lot of throwing items, a lot of, just a lot of needs that they had. And in that school, I was like, this is hard. Like, I don't know how people do this, but I stuck it out. I'm like, everyone kept saying, it just gets better. Just your first year. So I went to the second year, and it didn't get better. And not only did it get better, I got pregnant with my son, and I'm like, no, I'm exhausted now. I don't want to be as exhausted with a child. I want to have energy for my own child. So I ended up leaving that school, like a lot of teachers do. They say like, if it doesn't work here, maybe it'll work somewhere else. So I went to different school, different division, different demographics. So I went to a completely different school, very suburban, high parent support, a PTA, like I didn't know that existed. And it was amazing. Like it was an amazing school year. My son was like a newborn. I could have did that job in my sleep, but something was just missing. Like I was already thinking about leaving, my second year. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to continue doing my third year. I don't want to continue doing this. So that Christmas, December 20, when did COVID start? 2020?
Yeah, March. So
March
we're
20.
also having an anniversary.
So December 2019, I went to my principal's. Christmas break is coming. And I was like, hey, I'm going to put in my notice. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I want to go to tech. I don't know how, but I feel like this is my last year. And this coming here was like to test out to see if it was teaching or if it was just, the school. And she said, okay, Raven, like, thank you for letting me know. I was going to finish out the year. COVID hit in March. Life really changed when COVID hit. Like, I was home teaching. My son was home for a little bit. That in itself, I was like, no way, no way I cannot do that. And then I get like, just scared. Like I can't switch careers now. Like it's just unknown. I need to just stay put. So then I decided to go back, but not teach anymore. I wanted to get out of the classroom. So then I became an interventionist. So I spent the whole next year, 2021, being an interventionist. And in the back of my head, I'm like, still like, I can't do this. Like I'm out of the classroom. My job is great, but something is I still want more. And so about December 2020, I decided, I was like, all right, nope. I just researched jobs. I really connected with a lot of people. And then I made the move to leave. So by that April 2021, I was out of the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, so it's really interesting that you hit that moment, like right in the pandemic where, you're taking me back there of just like the intense uncertainty. Like we did not know what was going to happen in the world. Really tricky time to make any kind of leaps or moves. It was just like, I work with clients to make kind of big changes in their lives, right? And they were just kind of then, like all the plans we had made, all the things we were working on, it was like what to do now, right? And there was a little bit of a holding pattern because we just had to kind of figure out what was going to happen.
Everyone's jobs felt a little unstable. Like, you just don't know. And like, what if you get laid? What if my husband got laid off? And I already knew teaching would be solid and, teaching was always going to be there. So it was that, what if it's not the right time to go? So it was a scary time. It's crazy. It's 2 years ago, but it was.
Yeah. Well, so then it sounds like pretty soon after, as soon as you were like, okay, I think things are stable enough that I can start to make my move.
Yep.
That you started saying things into motion.
Yep. That little inner voice in me never died. It just kept it got louder once things settled down. And I'm like, okay, it's time. And, my husband was like, all right, let's do it. You've only been talking about this for years. And I'm like, it's time. And I really got to make the move. And it's like the hardest choice, but it's been the best choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that you bring up the little voice, because in my years of doing this and having the inner voice as well, I've noticed that if the inner voice starts talking, like that, you're going to have to pay attention to it sooner or later. It's like, and it gets more insistent, more louder. So that was happening for you.
Yeah. For me, like the inner voice came in different, it'll be in my dreams. It's just, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not stopping. And first I'm like, it's just me because I want to, but it's in my dreams. It's when I'm at work. It's when I'm doing something. I heard it so much that I'm like, I really have to start listening to myself, because that's who was talking to me. It's just, inside of me.
Mm-hmm. And what was it saying?
It was saying, leave, Raven. Like it really kept saying, like, this is not your passion. Like, you've spent your time here. It's time to go. A lot of people in my circle or my community that knew I was teaching would say, like, no, you can't leave teaching. Like, why would you leave teaching? What about your retirement? What about, no one leaves teaching. What are you going to do? So that it was really saying, like, don't listen to them, like, go, like, yourself better. Like, you feel it, go. So it was saying that, like, ignore everybody else, just go.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you have an inner voice that's saying go. You have like a surrounding though. And it sounds like within the profession, there's some pressure to stay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's a big,
I didn't know this about teaching. Tell us about
it's like a little cult. Love them. Greatest experience. But like, once you're in there and when you want to leave, it's the looks that you get. It's just like, you hate the kid, you get so many different people's opinions and views. And it's really like, no, I don't hate anything. I just love me more. And it's really hard to drown those voices out. A lot of teachers find that it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Is it because teachers kind of see it as like a calling, and it's like,
yes,
I guess it also reminds me, I used to work in nonprofits. And so it was like,
yes.
The mission driven work, right? How
yes.
could you,
yes.
like, we're working toward really important causes. How could you, be selfish and not put all in for the cause, right?
Yeah. And it's really, and I have this mindset too, but like, if I leave, who else is going to do this with the kids? Someone else will do it. I am not going to save the world by myself. Teaching as a community. And that's a big thing. It's like, I can't leave my kids because they're not going to survive without me. They need me. They need great teachers. When you're ready to leave, you become less and less of a great teacher. If anyone's ready to leave and take that leap, they know their love for teaching just diminishes. So I'm actually not being a great teacher. But yeah, it's hard when you tell people in the education profession or nonprofit that you're going away, you get some like, really, you get all those type of looks. Really? Why would you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned that it's like, it was one of the hardest decisions and also a really good decision for you. Yeah. So what was some of the conflict? I mean, we're kind of hearing it now, but what was the conflict that was like making it really difficult?
So I think, number one, it really was that mindset of like, I'm going to leave my students, like, how am I going to forgive myself, first of all, for leaving them? Like, what are they going to do? You feel bad for leaving your team and your school because, I'm taking a body out, which puts extra stress, even though they may have a substitute, or maybe they will hire eventually, or maybe they won't. I'm putting extra stress on my team. So I'm thinking it's that outer thinking about everyone else. Like, oh man, what are they going to do? And then what are people going to say? A big one for me was, how can I leave something that I planned for? Like, I knew I wanted to do this career. Like, this is what I thought, I was going to teach at the same school as my kids. And, this is I have my summers for the next 40 years planned out. How am I going to leave something that I saw a track for? And another one for other people, but what must for me was retirement. Like, what am I going to do to retire? Like, where's the money going to come from? Is anything else going to be stable? So those are my like the very hard thing to get over. The biggest one for me, again, like I said, was, I'm leaving something that I thought I was going to do forever. I'm very much so a planner. So when things go off track for me, I'm like, so that was hard for me to let go. Like, cause I don't like to let go of things that I'd planned for.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, one thing that I kind of talk about sometimes with people is like that there's like an identity shift. I wonder
Yes.
if that's kind of part of
Yes.
like I'm a teacher, I had a plan for my life, and now I have to say, whoops, like, oh, I made a mistake or I changed my mind. Like sometimes
Yeah.
it's hard to say publicly in a way of like, I changed my mind or this isn't working out for me.
Yeah. Um, I think if you ask a lot of people who are just like you ask moms, if you ask a lot of people who are they, their identity becomes around like, oh, I'm a teacher, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and who am I outside of that identity? With me being a mom and a wife, that never is a part of my identity to myself. But as a teacher, that really was my identity. I don't know why, but it was always like, oh, I'm Raven. That was like the first thing I would say. I'm a teacher. And now I'm like, wait, I'm so much more than that, right? I'm so much more than a mom and a wife, and I'm so much more than a teacher. So the identity shift was huge.
Hmm. Yeah. So it sounds like you discovered like I can also like grow beyond this.
Yes.
I can be more than this
You
in the
can
end.
be teaching is not just like monolith. It looks different in different ways that I do it. I can teach my son now. I can teach it within training. I'm not teaching within the classroom, but you still never lose that. But yeah, I found a new identity and it's beautiful. Like, I'm more than just one thing. And I read this quote the other day. It's like, we need to release the idea that we have to do something for 30 years. If we say it when we're 18, who made that rule that when we're 50, we still want that same thing? We have the right to change
Mhm.
our mind all the time. Like, I don't like anything that I used to like when I'm 18. Why did I think I would still like the career? It's okay to change our mind.
Mhm. Yeah. It's true that teaching is still like one of those professions that people tend to, is one of those things where people don't jump around or, that there's maybe they go from school to school, but like not as much as
No,
like going
yeah.
from company to company, for example. Yeah.
No, they stay for years. It's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and so can you tell us about like what do you feel like there was a moment where you made a decision or did it feel a little bit more like a process? How did
It
kind of things start getting in setting in motion for you?
Yeah, it's definitely more of a process than a decision. The decision to leave, that's something different. That's coming to terms with yourself. But to actually leave is a process because with teaching, again, teaching in itself, it puts you in a box where you don't even know other things exist outside of teaching. Like when you ask teachers, like if they want to do anything else, you're like, what else would you want to do? And they usually say like, I don't know what else I could do. Like that's all I can do is teach, which is not even true. You can do so much more. When I first started leaving, I was like, what can teachers do? The other jobs that popped up were like training, teach more. Like, it was
Mhm.
never more jobs. So finding out other
I'm
careers.
getting the sensation just by your hand gestures
Oh,
that you
sorry,
actually Googled that. Is that
I
right?
did.
Like you're
I did it in like
like
January.
search terms.
I
What else can
What can
teachers do?
teachers do? I kid you not. And you should see what pops up on Google. Hopefully it's better now, like, because it's been 2 years. But yeah, nothing pop. I'm like, I don't want to do that. It's like, be a counselor, teach. I'm like, okay. So you have to figure out what careers are out there. That's one of the hardest parts. Like, we can do more. What else can we do? And also figuring out what do you like to do? What do I like to do outside of teaching? Outside of my students, I guess I'll say that. And really learning how to network, getting on LinkedIn. Teachers don't have LinkedIn. Getting on LinkedIn, getting your resume correct, and then applying and interviewing for jobs. So that is a whole process once you figure out like, okay, it's time to go. Now let's get this process started.
So, okay. And yes, I 100% like this is the process I'm often helping people with and like going along
Yeah.
with them and guiding them through. So, okay, the first step it sounded like was like it's kind of a couple of things are going on at the same time. What is out there,
Yeah.
right?
And what do you want to
And
do?
what do I like to do, right?
Yep. Mhm.
So, how did you start figuring those things out?
Google. So I kid you not. That me typing is Googling, and like the first couple of jobs that popped up, I'm like, cool, I can do that, which is instructional design. That's really what's going to pop up if you Google what can teachers do besides teach,
Okay.
is instructional design. And So that's what I went. I'm like, first job, cool. I can be an instructional designer. I read the qualifications and it seemed like just creating lessons, right? Just creating courses. I'm like, oh, I do that every day. I can do that. So I went down that path. Looking back at I'll answer that actually at the end. Looking back at my old self, I would tell myself something then, but I went down that instructional design path. I made a LinkedIn, because that's another thing. It's like, get on LinkedIn, connect with instructional. I'm like, I got on LinkedIn, I connected with other instructional designers. I found teachers who are now instructional designers, and I heard about their day, and I'm like, wow, yeah, I want to do that. Like, that seems great. You make how much money? Like all that talk. And then I took courses for that, free courses. I paid for courses. I did everything I wanted to do. And I realized I did not like it. So I said two things: figure out what you want, figure out what's out there, and figure out what you want to do. I did not like instructional design. Like, I was creating, I was going to these groups and meetings, and I was like bored to tears. Like, kid you not, bored to tears. I was to the point where I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just stay in teaching. Like, this is just not good. And I met with someone, a connection on LinkedIn, and we talked, and she's like, we maybe talked for like 10 minutes. She's like, can you tell me again why do you want to do instructional design? Like, didn't know this lady. I was like, because that's like what teachers can do. And she's like, you guys can do so much more. She's like, do you know there's a whole of like all these jobs out there? And I'm like, no, what else can I, what was out there? And she's like, started naming off things. She's like, you need to do your research. You really need to search, companies. You need to search blah, 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 and look at their jobs and read the descriptions and find what you like. And she asked me some questions that really resonated. Like, what do you like about teaching besides the kids? She's like, do you like creating lessons? I was not the teacher that created lessons, first of all. So why did I think I wanted to do that for a career? And I'm like, no. She's like, do you like writing curriculum? I'm like, ooh, no. She's like, what do you like? I was like, I like teaching. I like actually presenting, talking to people. She's like, so professional development, so she kind of like really crafted my brain to think like, outside of the kids, what parts of teaching, am I an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Questions like that really helped me craft my career. So you have to find the jobs and find the biggest thing. What do you like to do?
Amazing. And refresh my memory with this. This is a woman you just met
on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn. Awesome.
She was a former teacher. I was listening to everything. I read books and podcasts, listened to a podcast on teacher to trainer, instructional design, something like that. And she was on there, and I found her on LinkedIn, and I was like, hey, I read your book or did something on podcast. I just wanted to tell you, like, your story's inspiration to me. Like, thank you so much. And then she was like, anytime, if you want to chat, let me know. And of course I'm like, yeah. So I chatted with her, and she's like, here's a Zoom link. And we were on Zoom for about, I want to say an hour, but the first 10 minutes, she was like, you don't give me instructional designer vibes. So like, I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, that changed my whole trajectory.
That's awesome. I love hearing about people helping each other out that way. And because that's a role that I have. I mean, people, that's my job, is that I help people, ask them that questions and try to pull out the same thing of like, what have they liked in their most recent job? What have they like kind of historically liked at other jobs when they were a kid? Like, just trying to pull out those things of what pieces they enjoy.
It's hard to find,
because what you want is the job that's the right fit. And it's great that you got signed so early on, that like you were bored to death at the, so, and that you found someone who could help you with that. Yeah.
Every day I'm thankful. Very thankful for that all the time.
So, okay. So she was like kind of an industry insider and like could give you some ideas of like, you're not such a great fit for that, but you are a better fit for this.
Yeah.
And then where did you go from there?
So once she told me kind of like, these are more up your realm, like you probably should do more research into these positions. Then I started researching like customer success, client support, trainer, professional, like all of the things that were under the same umbrella, right? Mm-hmm. Client facing.
Like people. Yeah.
Yeah. Very much so client facing, talking to people, presenting, not really having to upskill. So that was good. That was where I wanted to go. Then I started looking at the job descriptions, like, okay, can I apply for this? What do I need? And my resume, that was the next step, right? Like, okay, this is what the job says. Once you kind of read through that jargon, you're like, do I have what it takes? Is my resume okay? Then you can either work with a resume writer, maybe someone does it for free. I met like a group of people, and including that wonderful woman who did stuff like that for free, kind of like, all right, this is a job, this is my resume. Do they align? And it's kind of really crafting my resume to fit these jobs in the style that I wanted to go for. So once I got that crafted and really to fit the job, I started applying to jobs.
Could you go a little bit more into detail about how did you kind of start honing like your experience? Because so many people have difficulty with like that translation, right? Really, it's kind of like what you mentioned. It's like first, the person has to have awareness that they are more than a teacher. They actually have these different things to offer.
Yeah.
And then how to kind of translate them so they fit what a company is looking for, right?
Yeah. So I think a lot of that goes with figuring out what you want to do. So before you can even translate your skills, you have to figure out what you want to do, because when you're looking at something, a lot of people are like, well, what courses do I need to take to upskill? What do I need to, what should I apply to? It's kind of like, well, what do you want to do? Because maybe you don't need to do any of those things because you have all that you need. So when I look at a job description, when I'm reading one and it says like the must qualifications, must have experience in this type of software. I'm like, ooh, if I don't have that, I will write a list like, this is what I have, this is what I want, must have experience onboarding new clients. So then it's really kind of understanding, what does that mean? So this is where networking or in Google is key, or having a coach, asking someone, what is that? Like, what is onboarding a new client? Onboarding a new client is teaching someone new how to do something. And so as a teacher, have I ever taught someone new how to do something, especially when it comes to technology, because I work in tech? Have I ever taught a colleague or maybe a parent how to do a new technology tool, use a new technology tool, even if it's one person? Have I ever done that? Yes, I have. So I have that skill. So now it's being able to talk about that skill. Okay, right. So it's in this like build relationships with multiple stakeholders. What does stakeholder mean? Google it or ask someone, what does that mean? Okay, build relationships with people in my organization and outside. Do I do that every day? Yes. Parents, principals, students. Okay, boom. So it's really looking at the job description and understanding like, this is what I've done. This is what I have done. I've created lessons and deliverables, like little handouts. What have you have and what is the job description asking? And then you have that little glorious gap. What am I missing? If it's saying like, I need to know all these tech skills, then maybe I need to maybe this is a position I need to upskill for. Maybe that's more instructional design or coding, and I need to get that skill. But if it's something that I just need to onboard, build relationships, manage clients. We manage students. They're not clients, but you're still managing a caseload of students. So it's really being able to talk to that job and figuring out the jargon. You have to really be able to read through those terms. So Google, like, what is really understanding, what does this stuff mean? And then looking at your resume or thinking through, I have done, I have I have presented at multiple conferences. I can do that.
Yeah. All right. So once you have like your resume and you start applying, and that sounds like you start interviewing, how did that process go for you? What were some of the the high points, the low points? How did that go?
It's so funny because as a teacher, like you feel like, if I use a tech tool in my classroom, then of course I'm going to apply to that job. And of course they're going to want to hire me because I've used your tool and I am a subject matter expert. So why would you not give me an interview? It does not work that way. It does not it really does not. Like applying for the big companies that we all know about, all know for, like, wow, I use Google Classroom every day. I'm going to apply for Google. I use Nearpod all the time. I'm going to apply for this. And all these companies that I use all the time, I'm going to apply for them. And I'm going to put all this stuff on my resume because they need me. It's absolutely false. Like, it's just a false narrative. Like, yes, you use the product and that's awesome. You're a client, a customer, but what else can you offer the company? So that was hard for me. Like, why am I getting all these rejections? When you're seeing everybody else on LinkedIn getting all these jobs, and no one's really posting their struggles. Like I applied to 80 jobs and, so it's really getting through those rejections and then understanding, why am I getting rejected? Maybe it's my resume. Maybe I'm applying to too many jobs, not like under the same umbrella. Maybe I need to stop applying for these huge companies and go smaller, go to medium size. Maybe I need to go to, so I had to, I had to narrow down my search. And before I like got that resume crafted and everything like that, I had a very normal resume and I was sending it off like crazy. So I already applied to a lot of jobs and and I was thinking like, I can't apply to those again. That same lovely lady who gave me that advice, she always said like, why can't you? No one saw your resume to begin with, apply again, Yeah. So I had to go back and I started like, okay, those one jobs that I applied for before I knew what I wanted to do, I'm going to apply again. So I started applying to those jobs beforehand again. And that's when I started getting interviews too, because I expanded my search instead of applying for like the big 10 companies that everyone else was applying for.
So it sounds like it was like over time, you started to see, oh, I've got to continue kind of tweaking and going back and revising. And it's like, it's a very much
process. Yeah. It's not like, oh, I have this resume, I'm going to apply. It's really like, okay, this company's mission is about, maybe like people and passion. I need to craft my resume to this mission in my cover letter. This company mission is about bubbles and stars. I need to really craft that about bubbles and stars, not rewrite it, but kind of craft it to what they're looking for. So it is very much to like go back, redo. I had a lot of Google Sheets and spreadsheets because I want to just keep track of where I was applying, learning how to network. It is very much so a process versus I'm going to apply to 50 places and someone's going to give me a job and feeling like they have to because I use this product.
Yeah. Well, and do you want to just tell us about the amazing day where it all worked out?
Yes. So I applied to this company that I applied before. And this was my second time applying and I got an email like, when I first, I'm like, yeah, it's just one of those regular denial emails. And it was like, you've been scheduled, we'd like for you to schedule you for a first round interview with the recruiter. And I'm like, so that was like February 2021, like February 18th, 2021. And I got my first initial response via email, like, we want to schedule you for an interview. And that was so exciting. Very, I was really dramatic, like, what I want to do. Oh my gosh, really, really researching how to interview and everything like that. And it was just with the recruiter. So it was a conversation. So after I got off the interview, I'm like, I was never like anything I've done before. Then I had 5 more interviews to come with that same company. So that was a process. Like interviewing is completely different in corporate. It's not just one round and you got the job. It's multiple rounds, maybe like an activity or a task or a presentation. And then talking salary. And then I got the job.
Yeah. It's a big investment of time. Like
it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the applications and resume are like one part of it, but once you get to, if you have multiple interviews or just, with multiple places, it's just like, it's a lot of work. Yeah.
I tell people all the time, they're like, I want a job in August. I want to start applying in June. I'm like, you probably should start a little bit earlier than that because it's a lot of time. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah. How did you, just out of curiosity, how did you keep up your spirits and your energy like during all of that time?
I took breaks. So when I felt like, kind of down or when I didn't know what I wanted to do, instructional design, something else, or like, everyone's getting jobs and not me, like I would take like a week off and say like, you know what, I'm not focused because job hunting is another job. I'm not focusing on job hunting this week. I'm going to just take a break and then I'll come back at it the next week. And then I just really, I had like behind me, I had like a whole sticky note countdown, like up until the end of when I'll get a job, end of the year. So I was like pulling it down day by day. I was just excited. Like I just knew that I was going to get a job. So I'm like, I don't care what anyone says, like I'll take a break if I need to. I just was passionate. Like it's exhausting, yes, but if I wasn't applying for jobs, I'm going to network and meet people. And hopefully that's going to help me out.
And, one thing that I just spoke about in one of the podcast episodes was just like, it's not all over once you get the job. So will you tell us like what happens then?
Once you get the job? No, No. Oh gosh. Well, first of all, it's a learning curve, especially if you're changing careers. Like you're still learning all the time. It still feels, I think I'm about 6 or 7 months into my new company, and I'm still, some days I'm like, what's happening? The learning curve, the learning curve is still there. I still feel very new sometimes. I'm still learning the product. And I'm still networking and meeting people because like, what if one day I don't want to work at this company anymore? Or I don't want to do customer success anymore. So I'm just not gonna be like, oh, well, this is my job for the next 20 years. Like the presence of networking and community building is still there. And also you still want to grow within the company. I still want to be a subject matter expert at customer success. So I'm still trying to learn and understand, how do I become better at this? So no, the work, it's constant. It stays constant.
Mm-hmm. And so at that point you had you already done your goodbyes, or did you have to do your goodbyes at the time that you were also about to start your job?
I left before spring break. So like the week before spring break. And I did my goodbyes to people who I knew I was close with. They already knew I was job searching. So I let them know. When I got the job, I let them know. I did my goodbyes to everyone else, like a mass email. Luckily we were a hybrid because that was COVID. So we were in school some days, out of school some days. So I did a massive email goodbyes. My principal was very supportive. I know that's hard for a lot of people, but I also told her ahead of time. I didn't just be like, surprise, I'm leaving, because you do need her for a reference. That is the manager. And so I let her know during like midway interview process when I had a feeling that I was going to get the job, like, hey, I want to let you know that I'm pursuing this new passion. And she was very supportive. So she already knew too. So I let a lot of people know up front who needed to know. And then everyone else, I just did like a mass, like, thank you so much. Here's my contact. If you ever need anything, let me know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, it's always hard to say goodbye and to kind of let that go.
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really excited. I'm not going to lie. I was very excited. Once I got the job, I'm like, yes, bye everyone.
School's out forever.
Oh, yes.
All right. So to just kind of switch gears, something that I thought was really great about your story was that you are now passionate about helping other Black educators who are interested in leaving teaching. So will you tell us a little bit about what you have created?
Yes. So before I created my own thing, I started volunteering with this group called Teaching a Path to L&D, or TPLD. And they were this amazing free group who really poured into educators who were trying to leave teaching and get into L&D, learning and development. That really looked a lot like instructional design, but I wanted any free resources I could get because it's expensive to, get people to do things for you. So they were hosting resume webinars, mock interview prep, any and everything they had. So what I did was start volunteering with them first. I was like, I wanted to give back to the people who gave to me. And so I volunteered with them for about a year. And it was amazing because I'm helping teachers all the time. They're talking to me. It was amazing and also very draining. Let me rephrase that because it's exhausting helping people all the time for free. It's really exhausting. So in that process, I started to see something that I wasn't seeing many Black women leaving, or when I did see Black women, they all said the same thing. Like, Raven, I picked on your face on the, on the mentor page because you're Black. Like, I know you're not doing instructional design, but I really want to talk to you because you look like me. And I'm like, man, and I got that a lot when I did see Black women come, or Black teachers in general come in and out. I say women because there's only a few male teachers. So my group was for anyone, but there's a few,
the majority is women.
Yeah, the majority is women. There's like 5 men. So I'm like, wow, there may be a need for this. So I talked with the TPLD creator and I'm like, hey, just kind of getting hurt. Like, how did you start your group? Like, what does that look like? I really kind of want to do my own, but for Black educators, because I really feel like there's a space for that, because there's really not a lot of people in corporate that are Black teachers who are leaving in these careers. And I think it's a space. So she kind of really helped me kind of figure out my plan. And so then I crafted a group called Black Educators Transition to do the same, to help teachers who are looking to go, to kind of give them the resources. this is where you need to start. This is what you need to do. You need to, not holding anyone's hand, because again, you have to do the work yourself. But this is a beginning place for you to start your transition.
And so what does your group now provide to Black educators?
So right now we're still in the very beginning. When did I launch it? What month is this? We are in March, April. So I launched it officially in February. So we're about like a month and a half in, and we have like over 500 members. And so right now I do like webinars or series. So it's very like, this is where you start, transition. If you're looking to start, this is what you need to do. And then the next one would be like, this is, now that you know what you want to do, let's craft a resume. Here's how you craft a resume by yourself. Or here's some services that you can pay for. And then number 3, we go to like, okay, now that you've crafted your resume, here are some job titles, or maybe that's switch. What do you want to do? Job titles, resumes. And after that, we talk about networking with LinkedIn. And then I also post like jobs that are hiring, EdTech, regular tech, but FinTech, any jobs that are hiring. We do salary negotiations, just resources, tips, and motivation. All of it's free unless someone wants like specialized services. So if they're like, Raven, I really want you to look at my resume, then that's a little different. But again, I will say like, here's a great group you can join. These are people that you want to follow on LinkedIn. Here's this. I made a video the other day, literally of my resume. This is how I crafted my resume. These are the terms that this is how I would do a resume. And this week I'm doing like a LinkedIn one. This is how you maximize your LinkedIn. This is how you use it. So stuff like just tips and resources for teachers to utilize.
Yeah. So you just started like a month and a half ago and you already have 500 members.
I know, it's crazy.
I think you discovered a need there.
And it's only on Facebook too. I didn't even put it on LinkedIn yet, which is
so this is like a Facebook group where people join. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't even.
And so I imagine it's like nationwide. You're getting people from across the US.
Everywhere. Yeah. I wanted to do like meetups, but I'm like, everyone lives everywhere. So eventually I would love to like do networking meetups where we sit, because we have people in the group who were former teachers, but now are out like me, and they come in and provide tips. Someone posted the other day, like, I got this offer. How do I negotiate? And then people are giving tips. This is how you negotiate your salary. And it's just a beautiful place to be, to help women get out of teaching if they want to and find the career of their dreams.
Yeah. Well, and so recently on LinkedIn, I noticed that you posted an article in, I'm gonna read it. So it was in Ed Week. And they talked about how there was recently a surge of teachers who were leaving, like post-COVID, leaving the profession, and that the majority or the biggest numbers were Black or Latino teachers. And so, I mean, judging from your group, it sounds like, you've also hit on like a number of those people who are wanting to leave the profession. I was just curious, what are you hearing from teachers, and why do you think that, those numbers might be higher for Black teachers specifically?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know, because I feel like the amount of Black teachers and Latino teachers to white teachers is disproportionate, right? Like teaching is a predominantly white profession. So like that's first and foremost. So I feel like the numbers of leaving would be bigger of Black and Latino because it's less. So I don't know. So I feel like that kind of skews a little bit, because there's not many. I mean, you can ask a lot of people like how many Black teachers are in your building. You probably can tell you with 2 hands. There's 10, there's 5. But I feel a lot of the Black women that I talk to are very much so like, yeah, I want more money. Like, I've learned my work. I want more money. I love these kids, but especially if they're younger, like younger teachers, the older teachers, like 60s, they're kind of like, I'm stuck here. But like the, 30s, early 40s are like, I want more money. I'm tired of being beat down, and I have my own kids to take care of. I'm not saving anyone. So that's what I'm seeing around Black teachers, but I'm also seeing the same thing for white women that I talk to too. They're all like, yeah, no. So I don't, but in general, in general,
a feeling of like lack of support.
Very much.
Like that the demands are too high, and in general, but also
Yeah.
for the amount of money that you're being paid.
Yeah, the cost and demand it just doesn't make sense because, I talk to all types of teachers. Like I'll help my services help any teachers, but my group specifically is for Black educators. But like, my resume coaching, I'll help anyone. I was talking to a white teacher yesterday, and she's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't make enough money. I'm really exhausted. And the same thing for, the Black educator. It's the same reasons. I think the numbers are a little different because of what the demographics look like within teaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and so when the educators like join your group and, I imagine you're getting like a lot of the initial questions,
Yes.
right? So what are
yes.
some of the classic initial questions that people have?
Yeah. And this even goes to like anyone who messages me on LinkedIn too. It is, sometimes it's like, I saw that you're an educator, I am too. I would love to hear more about what you do. That's number one. I would love to hear more about what you want to do. And that's not even a question. It's just like a statement. Number two, it's like, I don't know what to do. That's the biggest one. I don't know what I can do besides teaching. That one is huge. And that one takes, and I promise you, the most work, because it's really, like you said, like that.
It's very
really
specific to the person.
Yes. It's very, I'm always like, I can't tell you what you want to do. You have to, I cannot, I can tell you how to figure it out, but I cannot say like, hey, you look like you would love writing content and maybe you hate that. So that's the biggest one, which is the hardest one I get all the time. Number two, was it hard to do it? Like how long did it take? Big on salary. Did you take a pay cut? How does retirement work? I would say like, what jobs are out there? A lot of people, they know that they can go, they just don't know what jobs they can do. Can you help me with my resume? That's another big one. My resume, like, I'm not getting any, I've applied for like 29 jobs and I'm not getting anything. What am I doing wrong? So a lot of those questions that I get usually.
And I'd love to hear some of your answers. So like, for example, we've heard the one of like, I don't know what I want to do. Like we heard that one. So what about like when people ask you about like, how long will it take?
Yeah. So I tell people all the time, like, your journey looks different than anybody else. Like that's a loaded question. You meet someone, it can take 3 months. It can take 3. You meet a lot of people. I say a few things. It really depends on how bad you want it and how much work you're going to put into it. I always say plan from.
This is what I say in coaching.
Yes, it really does. It really depends on you.
You're the one doing the work.
Yeah, it depends on you. And a lot of people think they want it better than they actually do, or they in their brain are like, I want it so bad, but they're not putting in the work to actually do it. It's a lot like working out, right? Like, I want to work out, but you're not actually doing it. So you're not going to see the results. So I always say, like, it really depends on you. Like, how much time can you dedicate to doing what you need to do to get the job? I always tell people like maybe 6 to 8 months. If you are, sometimes sooner, if you're doing it, like, if you're being very strategic. So again, but my biggest one is it depends on you, but I would say give it a school year. If you're being strategic. So that's number one when I would say that. When someone asks me like, I'm applying for all these jobs, why am I not getting anything back? I say a few things. I say, one, it's probably your resume. Like that's my first thought. It's probably your resume. Your resume is not correct. And then you get a lot of pushback. Like, I had someone write it for me. I did this, I did that. And I'm like, it's still probably your resume, but okay. Okay. Two, you probably didn't niche down, which means you probably have not figured out what you want it to do. So you're probably applying for like 5 different job titles with that same resume that needs work. And number 3, you're probably in a box with applying. You see what everyone else is applying to on LinkedIn. So you're applying to all of those jobs. Get out of the box. You don't need to just go to EdTech. There's so many versions of tech that you can go to. There's so many non-tech companies that you can go to do anything. So you're in a box of what you're applying to. So those are usually my 3 things of like, I've applied to all these jobs, nothing's happening. So, and then
what's your response about the pay cut? Like, do people have to be prepared to take a pay cut?
I always say no. It really depends. Again, it depends on what you are willing to take. You do not have to take an entry-level position because we're not entry-level people. Yes, we may be new to a job, but we're not entry level. It depends on what you want, and where you live is a very big one. I get a lot of California teachers talking to me. So I'm always like, okay, you may end up taking a pay cut because you live in Cali. Like, as a teacher, you make 90 grand. But I'm very big on no, and don't accept the job. If that's, ask, you can say no. You don't have to accept a job if you find out their salary is $50,000 and you want 75. Or if you want to take a pay cut, yes, you don't have to stay at that job forever. You can go much faster to another company, like I did. You can leave. So I'm always saying no. You don't have a budget in yourself. Like when you know what you want, you're like, I want to be a content creator. I want to make $85,000. I want to do this. Those are your must-haves. Then you now need to apply to companies that are like that.
Yeah. It has so much to do with mindset and like what you decide is going to be your number. What are you going to take? What are you going after?
Yes. Yeah. And honestly, like, is salary everything? And a lot of teachers don't realize that you can talk more than just salary, like base salary. Can you negotiate PTO? Maybe you want to have kids soon. We can talk maternity leave. Maybe you want a sign-on bonus. Like, there are other parts that will kind of fix that salary if you take like a $10,000 pay cut. Teachers who I work with who live around me, I'm always telling them, you're not taking a pay cut. Like, we make nothing. You're going to get a pay raise regardless.
Well, and as a teaching specific question, do you get asked, like, how do you feel about losing summers off?
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that one. Yes. How do I feel about summers? How do I feel about breaks? That's a big one. In my brain, I thought I was going to be a lot sadder. Like, I thought it was going to be like gut wrenching, like, oh man, all my teacher friends are out having fun in the summer and I'm working. It does not feel that way. Prime example. This is spring break week for teachers where I live. I'm off. I was off yesterday. I'm working today, but I'm off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday because I want to, because I can. Just that we have that opportunity. My son is 3. He doesn't really get a spring break, but I'm like, let's just go to Busch Gardens. I can do that with him, and there's no pushback. Same thing for summer. One, I work remote. So if I wanted to take a vacation and I had to work, I can just take my computer with me and get some work done. 2, vacation and PTO is very flexible. There is no time constraint. I don't have to just take vacations in the summer. I can take them whenever I want to. And I don't feel any different. Like, I don't work. I'm not exhausted after work. So when I get off work, I can go to the beach. It's not give or take, or maybe if I don't have any meetings, I can work from the beach. So it's so flexible. I don't really miss it. And also, my husband's not a teacher and he doesn't get off summertime. So it's not like,
it's not like that was working out perfectly anyway.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's my kid goes to daycare. It's fine. I'm working. I get off. We still do things. So I don't feel different for not working summers at all. Like, at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was like a mandatory question to ask.
It's a big question. And I already have 3 vacations planned this summer. Already took, like, it's fine. Like, it's not like, it's like, okay, see you when you get back.
Yeah. Well, Raven, I have so appreciated all your tips and just you sharing your story. Is there anything that you feel like maybe you wanted to talk about that we left out?
I want to mention really fast to anyone who has to feel like they have to take a pay cut, or they're taking a job, the salary is not where they want it to. Because I was just working with someone on LinkedIn about this yesterday. Maybe you got a job and you're like, man, I really wanted to make 85,000 and this company's only offering 65. But you want to take it anyway, because again, you ready to go, you can take that job and you can leave eventually. Like, you don't have to stay there. That doesn't have to be, again, like a 10-year position. That can be a 6-month position. Learn what you need to learn as that position, get in there, get your resume wrote, and apply for another job. I did the same thing with my first company. I was there. It wasn't a right fit for me. And I also wanted more money. I left after 6 months, and it's easier to move company to company. You're not stuck if you ever feel like that. So that's a big thing I tell people all the time. It's okay to leave. It really is okay.
Yeah. Well, that's also like just another interesting mindset thing, because if you're if you've been a teacher and it's like a fairly static profession, then you're just not accustomed to moving from company to company, which is often usually the way people get those pay bumps, right? Is
Yeah.
every time they leave a company now
Yep.
that they're getting an increase in their salary. So it's like the easiest way to get
And
an
they
increase.
say the best time to look for a job is when you already have one.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's the quickest way to increase your salary is to move companies. And I always tell people, like, you left teaching. That was the hardest thing. Leaving this company should not feel anywhere as hard as teaching. So go.
You've already done it.
Exactly. You already did the hardest thing you did, and your resume is in much better shape and you have experience. So if you ever feel like, man, this is not really the salary I wanted, stay for a little bit, get that experience, and then you can go. So that's my biggest, I tell anyone, if like, you can still leave.
Yeah.
Change careers
Awesome.
if you want to. You don't always have to do the same career. You can, if you get into customer success and hate it, companies allow you to, to like, oh, maybe you want to do this. They will let you do that.
Yeah. Great advice. Thank you, Raven.
No problem.
All right. So we are going to wrap up with my rapid fire questions. So I've got the first question is, what do you wish? Do you need to take a moment?
No, I'm reading the questions because I'm making sure I'm
Okay.
thinking about it. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm reading the questions.
I thought someone had gotten your attention.
No.
All right. So I'll just pause for a moment and restart. Okay. So the last thing we'll do is I'll ask you the three questions that I ask every guest. And the first one is, what do you wish you had known before you took your leap?
I wish I would have known that there were more careers than the ones that you see immediately on your search. Because when you feel like you have to just pick one, you get stuck and you feel like your options are you feel like you're just tied down to one thing. So I wish I would have known, like, the world is bigger than the one thing that pops up on Google.
Mm-hmm. And what was something that was maybe surprising or unexpected about your leap?
How low paying some of the big EdTech companies pay, how low the salaries are. You really think it's tech, you're going to make six figures immediately. Some of these companies that we all want to apply to may not be as big salaries as you think they are. So like I was saying before, you really got to get out of that box of like, I'm only going to apply to these 5 because I love them. Sometimes those are not the places that you want to work for. And also learning your working style. Do I like startups? Do I want a company that's, already been maintained? That's a big one too.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's great advice. And for someone who is thinking of doing something similar, what advice would you have for them?
I would say start taking inventory now of skills that you have, things that you like, so you can figure out what you want to do. So if you know now, like, man, I've been thinking about this a lot and I'm really interested in training. If you're in the position to start doing things within your school district now to put on your resume, start it like now. So take inventory of what you like, figure out what you want to do. And like, ooh, I want to start, training, ask your principal to lead a PD, start tracking data, start getting that information down. So when you're crafting that resume, you have things to talk about.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Raven. If people want to be in touch with you, or if they want to join your group, how can they find out more?
Yes. So you can always connect with me on LinkedIn, Raven Wilson. I'll give you my link to put in the show notes. Definitely. And you can always find my group on Facebook, and it's Black Educators Transition. So LinkedIn, you can connect. I help anyone if you ever just want help to connect or look at your resume, anything like that. I'll give my calendar too. You can schedule on my calendar. We do coaching. I do coaching, resume services, giving you like jobs description, everything like that. However, if you are a Black educator looking for a space of teachers who really look like you and a space to feel safe, please join my group, Black Educators Transition, on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for sharing your story and, so much learning that you are now passing on to other people. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
It was fabulous. I love that conversation. And I hope that you also got tons of good ideas from Raven. She had so much to share. I want to encourage you, if you would like to know more about how you can connect with Raven or about what she's up to, if you want to kind of review some of the points that we talked about, head on over to my website, lisahawashi.com/podcast for the show notes for this episode. And also, I want you to know that if you are at that sort of stage where you are trying to figure out what do you want out of your next role, what role would be a good fit for you, and you want to do some of that self-reflection, self-assessment that Raven and I were talking about, I have something that is going to help you do that. I have a self-paced digital course that is called Illuminate Your Career Path in 5 Steps. You can get access to it right now over at my website, lisahawashi.com/career-course. And this course has 5 different modules that will take you through step by step how to do some of this initial planning and thinking about what do you want next for your career path? What job would be a good fit for you? It starts helping you with some exercises, really easy to do, to think about what do you like doing at work? What do you not like doing? And to get you starting to think about what kind of roles would be the right match for you. So if you want to learn more, again, the link is lisahawashi.com/career-course. And it is there for you. And you can always, of course, access that in the show notes for the podcast, or reach out to me with a DM or send me a quick email, and I am happy to answer any of your questions about that. Until next week, I hope you have a great one. Thanks again for listening.